Okay, so yes, there's so much to be said, but I've got 10 minutes, so I'm going to make this pitch because we were asked to talk about what do we think is flying under the radar, what are we not paying attention to? And I think we're not paying attention to our need for what I call a science of normativity. Just to be clear, when I say normativity, I just mean the human practice of saying this is an okay thing to do and that's not an okay thing to do. Really, all of our norms, laws, regulation boil down to that. And what I'm interested in is what are the structures and systems and institutions and processes by which we do that. So most of the conversation in the AI alignment, safety, safe and beneficial AI world is around this question of how should we regulate AI. So in our AI ethics conversation, so trolley problems, AI policy, how should we build AI? Release, should we put information out there? Autonomous vehicle liability, fairness and bias. We hear a lot of discussion about the focus on how should we regulate AI. I think this is a great question to be asking, but I think there's a more fundamental question. How can we regulate AI? Once we've decided what we think it should do, and who is this we? This is why my question to you is, because we is not us sitting around, we is what we as constituted in humans in a whole bunch of different kinds of communities and processes and institutions and structures. That's what we have. We need to figure out what that should is. But when we figure out what that should is, how can we get there? How do we actually build AI systems that can, what I would say, interface with human normative systems? How can we build AI that can navigate human normative space in the way that it has to navigate physical space and so on, which is what we all have to be able to do to be competent humans. We need to be able to walk into a new group of people, a new environment, and understand what are the rules around here, what should I approve of, what should I disapprove of, what should I do. That is what holds us all together. And if you're going to introduce AI systems into our human systems, we need them to be able to integrate into that and not disrupt it. The fact of the matter is, we really have no idea how to build that. And a key problem is our social scientists aren't working enough on this question. And I say this as a social scientist. I'm an economist. I'm a legal scholar. I use a lot of formal modeling. I do computational stuff. I do theoretical stuff. I do philosophy. We do all these different things. This is the great virtue of working in a law school, by the way. You can kind of bring to bear any methodology you want. And so I'm going to make this claim to you that across our university campuses, our social scientists are not working enough on the kinds of questions that we should be working on, we need to be working on in order to figure out how to build the AI systems and the regulatory systems that we'll need to make sure this all goes well. We have lots of people starting to study the impact of AI. Okay, so we've got the impact, people studying the impact of AI systems on protected groups. So the compass analysis of the impact of the use of those algorithms in bail systems around the country. Absolutely, we are studying the impact on protected groups. We have studies on the employment. I think Robin's going to talk a little bit about impact on employment. Economists are thinking about the impact on employment. We have lots of discussion around the impact on democracy and fake news and platforms and so on. And we have conversations around the impact on the human experience. Again, this is all important research to be done, but it is it's in the absence of the work on what are the solutions. So most conferences that I go to on AI and society, AI and ethics and so on, they are about here, look at the impacts, look at the things that we're producing, and then we stop there. And we haven't figured out how to build the solutions to that. How do you build the AI differently? And my point is that I don't think we have the social science that we need. I think we need to be working on understanding humans better than we do. So my pitch is around fundamentally also about funding of research, to say a significant amount of that money for AI should be going to funding the social science we need in order to understand our human systems better. a lot of the conversations I'm in, they tend to have relatively simple or, dare I say, naive ideas about how law works, how social norms work, how organizations work, how you get, how do you say, oh, we need to build a different culture, we need a different norm. How do we do that? We don't know how to do that. We need to be understanding that human normativity it's a system. And I use the concept here of a complex or complex adaptive system, meaning it's one of multiple individual units that are interacting and producing phenomena that aren't necessarily just the sum of what's in there. We tend to, again, focus very much on an individualistic frame about, if we could convince people to think this, behave this way, and say, no, behavior is a product of these systems. Most of us are behaving in ways that are, frankly, the equilibria of these systems. So let me give you a couple of examples. Peter's already mentioned the alignment question. So, this is the fundamental problem of AI safety, I think. How do we align AI with human preferences? This is the way it gets framed. I'm an economist. I'm not sure humans have preferences. Preferences are just a mathematical tool that we use to make predictions about choices. You can't open up my brain and find a little codex in there of here's how much I value stuff. And you certainly can't do that in any way that's stable and independent of the environment that I'm in and the role that I'm playing. I mean, I could predict a lot about what people were going to wear today, just knowing what topic we're talking about and where we are and so on. This is not just a set of values in our heads. So we don't want to think of this as a problem of going out and discovering what those values are. Oh, and then we'll embed those into our AI systems. That's not how what preferences are. Where do they come from? How do they change? How are they manipulated? These are questions we really are not studying in the kind of depth that we need to. Now, that might be surprising to you because you're thinking, hey, wait a second, I've heard all about this stuff. There's cognitive science, psychology, neoclassical economics, behavioral economics. But almost all of this stuff takes it as a given. Takes the content as a given. So let me talk about behavioral economics, for example, which runs those experiments. How much of a dollar would you give up and how much would you insist you have to get before you'd go along with the answer? Those models just presume that that's the way humans are. Well, humans have been around for millennia. Where does it all come from? We haven't actually told ourselves anything about predicting how will humans behave. So we really don't know. We need to know. You can't align with human values if we don't understand enough about how that works. So another one, how can we stop harmful uses of AI? That's a common conversation. It's something we all are focused on answering. And the usual answer is, well, we'll pass a law. Or at least that's the idea we have. If we'll figure out what it is we want the world to look like, and then we'll pass a law. Well, that's not going to work. I wrote a book about this. Looking at this over the last 10 or 15 years, saying, look, our legal systems, our regulatory systems are no longer fit for purpose for the level of complexity, speed, innovation, globalization of our societies, our economies. They can't keep up anymore. So if you think you're just going to get Congress to pass a law or the California legislature to pass a law, and you're going to hand that to a bunch of lawyers that I've educated who are way too expensive and process will take too long, and there'll be lots of argument about what we mean. Our legal infrastructure is just deeply inadequate for the levels of complexity, speed, and globalization and digitization of our modern world. So we need to be reinventing that, as in fact we've reinvented it many times over human history. But we haven't been doing that. This is a topic that has not gained much traction whatsoever in legal research. And I'm glad David Friedman is going to talk earlier or tomorrow, a little later, about other approaches. So it's important that we have vision for what's possible for humans and the values we want to see. I totally support those conversations, but we have to move beyond that, and we need to move soon. I'm actually really worried about the fact that we are not doing the basic research we need for the good predictive, prescriptive models about how human normative systems work. And that's why we need a science of normativity.
All right. Awesome. stay right there, and I'll give it up to our speaker panel to ask the first question over here.
How's this? Oh. You have feedback and no audio? Gillian, I was really excited by your call for new funding and like a large-scale infusion of social science research and expertise into this field. It feels deeply needed. But I have two questions about that. One is, how do we make sure that that social science work is really tied to the reality of the technological arc of AI research? And the second is, you were talking about trying to help technical systems understand the complex fabric of human normativity. Is that the only direction we should be running in, or should we also be trying to build kind of new structures of normativity for humans and AI to share?
Okay, so taking those in reverse, yes, we should be going in both directions. So I've just become director of a new institute at the University of Toronto, the Schwartz-Reisman Institute for Technology and Society, and this is our mission. And our mission is to go both ways. So it's both to build the practical solutions and build the regulatory systems, figure out how we're going to innovate the regulatory systems. But it's a fundamental goal to actually drive the basic research in our social sciences and humanities, and to tie that to, like to say, let's start with the questions that are in the AI safety community, like the problems of AI alignment or multi-agent systems and so on. And can I, for example, go find and inspire the people in the economics department and the sociology department and cognitive psych, in philosophy, my legal theorist colleagues, to start working on the problems that will help solve these issues, because we're not right now. So it's absolutely where it needs to go, and that's my intellectual entrepreneurship project.
Does the science of normativity mean studying what norms are or what they should be? Because the former is basically economics and sociology. The latter is moral philosophy, and they have very different implications, because we know that some societies have had norms that people in other societies strongly disapprove of.
So they actually mean something different than both of those. So what I mean is studying the attributes and the dynamics of normative systems. So actually, apart from the substance of the norms, because I think actually the humans have invented normative systems and the capacity for third-party punishment of sets of rules. And it's precisely the capacity for those rules to take arbitrary content that makes it such a powerful adaptive tool. And what we need to understand is, how do those systems work? What are the attributes of those systems that incentivize and coordinate everybody to play along? So it's not about the content.
Oddly enough, my talk, in a sense, touches on that.
Good.
Though I didn't realize it.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, medieval Iceland, you and I share a passion for medieval Iceland.
So you're pointing to a very big, grand field of exploration. There's no obvious boundary. There's no obvious threshold. How much do we need by when? I mean, well.
Okay. So I have a budget of $20 million for 10 years.
Remotely enough.
No, it's not. So hello, everybody. We do need a lot more. But part of the job here is to reorient the work that's going on in a lot of fields. It is boundless in the sense that, I mean, this is another mission of this initiative at the university is, as we all know, we've been trapped in our disciplinary silos. That's been very effective for the production of knowledge, but it's now a real problem for us. So we really need to be oriented around these problems rather than, is this the economics of it? Is it the sociology of it, and so on? I think 100 million would get us somewhere. That's my prediction, by the way. Please help me predict that we'll have $100 million.
I didn't mean how much money do we need. I meant how much understanding do we need? Well, how far do you expect, or do you need this field to go before you can achieve the goal?
How far do you, so we could do a lot. So we could do a lot. We could, for example, I'm doing research on this project on what I call silly rules, which is to say, can we explain the role that rules that actually have no impact on payoff have on maintaining the stability and equilibrium of normative systems? And I'm working with DeepMind on building some models of that in multi-agent systems. I think we'll have predictions pretty soon that would help to say, here are some things we need to understand about if you're going to release your robots into an environment. Don't think what you want to do is only embed them with the important values. You better also embed them with the capacity to read and understand and participate in the silly rules too. So I think there's payoffs very, very quickly.
All right, a very, very quick last question and a maybe very brief answer.
I'd just like to understand a bit better what exactly the science of normativity is.
Very
So
quick
right
question.
now, right now we're in a world where a lot of people are not making rational decisions, and their conscious minds and their subconscious minds are just not aligned at all. They're extremely dissonant. An example is of people who live in a place with a lot of air pollution, who then go to play golf every weekend, right? So if we're building AI systems that are based on the back of choices these people are making, where does the science of normativity come in, and how does it help rationalize this system and the AI around it?
So I think it is a very big question. It's understanding how is it that we as a group of humans continue to move forward together and adapt and maintain stability. Humans have been doing stupid stuff since there have been humans, right? But we've also managed to continue to progress and advance. It's understanding how we manage to do that and how we may do this in decentralized ways.